Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to some more Pokemon Yellow. In the last part, a certain poorly named rival stole what would be our starter Eevee, so instead we are using a Pikachu instead, which is fine if we could evolve it, which we can't. Regardless, we have begun our journey to become the Pokemon League champion, and so far we have approximately 2 Pokemon. I mean, I think we can beat the game with just this, but you know, better be sure. I mean, better be safe with getting some more. In any case, since the last part, I've done a bit of off-screen grinding. I'll show off movesets and stats for each of these 2 right now. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the previous recording, but for some reason the Pikachu line tends to get more attack stat, even though they don't learn very many physical attacks, even in Gen 4. I guess they really want that extra 2 attack for Volt Tackle when they eventually get it. But regardless, okay, special and speed is great, as you might expect. Since last time, we've learned Thunder Wave, which is arguably one of the better statuses you can use in this game. Well, I mean, Paralysis is one of the better statuses you can use. Technically speaking, Sleep would be the most effective, and Freeze is by far the best, because you just win, but the problem is Freeze doesn't really have anything that automatically does it, and Sleep has the problem of everything except Parasect has a much harder time landing it. Anyways, on to Nidoran. Stats are slightly better in terms of overall attack, but in terms of everything else, a bit lower than well, I guess except defense. Defense is a bit higher. And speed, of course, which is much lower. Not really much to say for it, except it learned Horn Attack up to this point. Eventually it'll learn Double Kick, which is going to be practically essential for the first boss. So that'll be fun. Hopefully we can get that learned on our way through the first... I want to say dungeon, but the thing is, the forests in Pokemon games never really feel like dungeons, as much as, like, say, Rock Tunnel or Mount Moon do. Anyways, before we move on, time to show off a little bit of an optional fight you can have. Oh crap, it's oh crap! Hey, Jordan! You're going to... Sorry, you're going to Pokemon League? You know, instead of going to the Pokemon League? Forget it, you probably don't have any badges. The guard won't let you through. I know, I tried. By the way, did your Pokemon get any stronger? Alright, let's see if our rematch goes any better. Oh crap, he wants to fight. I'm putting my hands up. Oh right, Pokemon battle. Whoops, got that mixed up. Anyways. Alright. Well, time to abuse any and all type advantages I have. I'm thinking the plan for this is going to be Thundershock the crap out of this first one, then Thunder Wave the following Pokemon, and weaken it up a bit for Nidoran to take care of. Because something tells me Thundershock isn't going to cut it for the entirety. Pikachu, you gotta be kidding me. Well, this really isn't helping matters. Darn, I thought Thundershock was 100% accurate, and I know I didn't get hit by any sand attacks. Alright, well my defenses are basically crap. Oh crap, it's an Eevee. Alright, Thunder Wave, please don't miss. There we go. Wonderful. For those that don't know how paralysis works in Pokemon, the most obvious effect is that it makes it so that you basically roll a... Not really roll a die, I guess flip a coin each turn to determine if you actually get to move or not. The percentage might be a bit lower than that, though, in terms of failing. Arguably, the better benefit, because it's always in effect, and you don't have to rely on luck for it, is that it basically cuts the opponent's speed in half. So if you're having trouble outspeeding, well, there you go, Paralysis will practically fix that. Unless it's a situation where it's a Magcargo trying to outspeed a Scizor. Well, anyway, Scizors aren't that fast. Scratch that. It'd be like if you tried to outspeed a Scyther using Magcargo. That just isn't going to happen, even if it's under Paralysis. I kinda forgot Scissor lost like a whole bunch of speed when it turned into that. Anyways, let's just throw some Thunder Shocks out. I imagine we're gonna take one hit from Eevee and basically be near death, so at that point we're throwing out Nidoran. Not quite what I expected, but that's still good cue to switch to Nidoran. Alright, Nidoran, let's see what you can do after 6 whole levels. This would be over a lot easier if we had Double Kick, but sadly, that doesn't get learnt until much later. And by that, I mean, I think 2 levels, maybe 3. Alright, we've won the rematch. We got the run back. Alright, we're both level 9 now, that's good. I defeated- oh crap! Oh, you just lucked out! No, that's called strategy. And by that, I mean playing through this stupid fight so many times as a young child. I heard Pokemon League has many tough trainers. I have to figure out how to get past them. You should quit dawdling and get a move on. Well, I can't get a move on when you're around. Because apparently, due to the laws of Pokemon, at least in the Kanto region, if your rival is moving around, you are not allowed to physically move at all. It's a very strange rule. I don't get how that works. Alright, now that we've gone ahead and beaten the optional rival battle after our terrible loss earlier, before we proceed, I just want to mention that will affect the rival's final team as we get later on into the game. I'll just go ahead and explain now. If you were to win both your first initial fight with him and the optional fight there, his Eevee will turn to a Jolteon. If you lose one of them but win the other, it turns into a Flareon. If you lose both, I think it's either if you lose both or if you ignore the optional one and lost the first one, it turns into a Vaporeon, if I'm remembering right. I don't believe that affects the other members of his team. If I'm wrong, I will put a notice up on screen about it. Anyways, let's go on ahead and get going. Or at least we would if it weren't for this guy from before. I've had my coffee now and I feel great. Sure, you can go through. I'm sorry I was so rude to you. I see you're using a Pokédex. I'll show you how to catch Pokemon as my apology. Yeah, it's not like I didn't catch one already, but so be it. So my mortal enemy, the Rattata. Let's see how he does. So much for that. That didn't work. I must be losing my touch. I've run out of Pokeballs too. I have to get some at Pokemon Mart. And we will never see him again. Actually, before I proceed, I should probably check how I'm... Oh, I got 9. I'm golden. There aren't any Pokemon coming up that I'm planning on catching as team members, but I do want to get some of them for the Pokedex early just so we can get some of those rewards that the Professor Oak assistants provide. So I'll probably catch a few, just add to the team, but realistically the only ones that are getting used are Nidoran and Pikachu. And there's probably a bad example, because I should have had Nidoran lead, because Pikachu's just gonna finish it off in one hit. Okay, attempt 2. Alright, let's get us a female Nidoran for collection's sake, I guess. Wait a minute, I threw a Pokeball and it suddenly turned into a Great Ball. How'd that work? If only. Let's see here. A malmarried Pokemon that does not like to fight. Beware, its small horns secrete venom. I guess it makes sense. One's defensive, the other one likes to run its head into things. Nope. Alright, we'll catch one more, again, just for upping the Pokedex, and then we'll move on. Well, I would, except I already have one. Oh, wonderful. These things start level 4 up here. Wonderful. Wish I knew that before. There we go. Oh. Yeah, I forgot. The game really emphasizes using a Pidgey, funnily enough. I'm flattered, game, but I have a much different flying type in mind, so I'm gonna have to ask you to kindly piss off. Well, you don't have to be rude about it. What is with this? I don't remember Pidgeys being this fast. Well, not really a speed thing, but because of the fact it's getting critical so often. For those of you more familiar with the newer Pokemon games, well, for one thing, Pokemon 1 barely works, but I'm sure some of you knew that already. For those unfamiliar, alongside the fact that the stats are distributed a bit differently, and set up differently as well, critical chance is very different. In normal Pokemon, it's usually just a base chance for each Pokemon. I want to say it's roughly maybe 10%, maybe a bit less. And gets boosted according to if you're using moves such as, say, Focus Energy, or moves such as Slash or whatnot that have a high critical hit chance. Oh, I forgot to actually read this. I'll be right back. Pokedex, go! Very docile. If attacked, it will often kick up sand to protect itself rather than fight back. Oh, so that's why it keeps putting sand in my eyes. Where was I? Oh yeah, the critical hit chance, in Gen 1 specifically, it's more so dependent on your speed. Higher speed chance... Sorry, not speed chance. A higher speed set overall will make it so you have a much higher chance to get critical hit rate. In Pokemon Stadium, the 3D version of Pokemon that was paired up along with this game a few years after its release... Well, technically, in the case of Yellow, I think they came out around the same time, but they reworked the formula a little bit, but it was still dependent on speed back then, and I believe in Gen 2 is when they switched it so there was just a static rate across every Pokemon, unless you used a move or a setup to, like, adjust it. I mean, you could use Focus Energy, but why do that? Use a Dire Hit like a true champ. I mean, I guess the logic is, oh, if you don't have Focus Energy as a move, but why would you bother with that? I'm gonna be honest, the stat-increasing items in Pokemon never made any sense to me, either from... Well, in competitive, I guess you really can't use them, so it really only works in a casual playthrough, but then in that case, again, aside from speedrunning, what's the point? Oh well. Anyways, Viridian Forest. Let's go. I thought there was an item here, but instead we shall battle. Hi, do you have a Pikachu? No, why do you ask? Because apparently she can't just look right behind me and see one following me around. If I remember correctly, I believe she just uses the 2 Nidorans, I think. Don't you sing at me. I'm switching Pikachu just so we can get some experience from this and also to hurry this up. Also, I'm gonna be honest, part of me kind of forgot that I set the battle mode to set, so every time it goes to bring a new Pokemon, I'm like, oh, should I switch now? And then I remember, oh wait, I put a stipulation that I can't do that. There we go. Pikachu, using that wonderful speed stat to his advantage. Oh no, really? Why are you disappointed? You asked to see a Pikachu, you got a Pikachu, and it kicked your ass. A Metapod. Let's see, I could catch a Metapod and have it do basically nothing, or I could not do that. Better option, let's just not deal with it. Nidorans. Why did I say Nidor? No, Metapods. I'm getting my Pokemon mixed up, apparently. Metapod and the Caterpie line, they don't really do too much, especially in Gen 1. In later games, they arguably become better. Their main thing is that they're fast special attackers, or at least they do become that when they get to their final form, which, luckily for the Caterpie line, is very early at level 10. Downside, because it's so early, they don't have very high stats compared to other Pokemon that evolve at much higher levels, or through alternative means. And if you're considering raising, like, either a Caterpie, Metapod, Barfree, etc., I'm gonna tell you right now, you catch that thing as a Caterpie because trying to raise it otherwise is annoying as piss. Truth be told, Barfree is probably one of my more favorite bug types from Gen 1. More so in later games, because in the first few games, while I do like its design and whatnot, it's just not viable. Like, out of all the Pokemon that can learn and use Psychic in this game, it is by far the worst user of it, even worse than, say, Abra, which is a first form Pokemon. At least for talking about competitive rankings, which, you know, do correlate somewhat to a casual playthrough. Anyways, we got us Caterpie. Again, not a new teammate, but I'm thinking I'll probably just quickly evolve it off screen to Metapod, then to Butterfree, just to, again, fill up some pages in the Pokedex. When we get to around 20 or so, I'll just stop, because it won't really be necessary at that point. Let's see what Caterpie's entry is. If I remember correctly, both the Caterpie and Weedle lines have really depressing Pokedex entries in later games. I don't remember what they are in the first few games, though. If you touch the feeler on top of its head, it will release a horrible sting to protect itself. It's the farting Pokemon. Wonderful. Nope. Truth be told, part of me was considering what if I used a Barfree for this run, but considering future plans for it and just the fact that, I don't know, there's not really a whole lot I could do with it besides use Psychic and maybe have Sleep Powder. I was about to say Sleep Powder, no, Sleep Powder. Maybe in a future game in the series if I ever get around to it where it actually, you know, learns good crap. I will say, it does become very fun when using it with Quiver Dance in later generations, but that's not till like Generation 5 or 6. So, good luck waiting. Also, if you're wondering why it is that we're going through Viridian Forest and we haven't encountered a single Weedle or Kakuna yet, that's the fun thing about Pokemon Yellow. Its version exclusives are very strange. Instead of having a situation where it has a combination of version exclusives from Red and Blue, which, to be fair, it does to some extent, certain ones just get kicked out of the game entirely for a couple reasons. The most common one being it was a Pokemon that was used frequently to, like used frequently by bad guys and whatnot in the anime, because for all intents and purposes, Yellow is generally meant to, like, take more inspiration from the TV series. So, by that logic, we don't get Coughing, we don't get Ekans, because they were the main Pokemon of Team Rocket, we don't get Meowth, which is annoying because that thing is a critical hit machine. Well, when it evolves, anyway. Surprisingly, we don't get Weedle or Kakuna or Beedrill. that part I don't get, because it's not exactly like they were, like, you know, an antagonist to, like, the main characters. It's not like there was a villain that just did nothing but pelt them with bee drills, which, to be fair, would probably be a fate worse than death, all things considered. No, Caterpie can't cut it! I wonder why. Where was I? So yeah, that's a bit of an odd version exclusive, but okay, I guess the idea being, oh, Ash caught a Caterpie, so they really want you to use one. Yo, you can't jam out for your Pokemon trainer. I'll show you, I'll get my Walkman. Wait, I don't have a Walkman, I'm too... I was born too late for that. What are the other version exclusives I'm thinking of? Honestly, the three weirdest ones in my opinion are probably, the trio of Electabuzz, Magmar, and Jinx. I legitimately don't know why they're not available. I guess the idea was they want to make it so that they left out one version exclusive from each game to justify getting the other three, which I'd like to say is a dick move, and in that case it just emphasizes getting just getting Red and Blue together to get, like, all 150 Pokemon, but whatever. But hey, we're not completing here, so... I mean, we're not doing a 100% Pokedex run, so that doesn't really matter. The one annoying part is the fact that Jinx isn't available, and the reason that's annoying is because, it's probably one of my favorite Psychic types to use in most Pokemon runs. Mainly just because having access to Psychic and Ice-type moves is really nice. Like, I don't think it's as powerful as, like, say, Alakazam or, I want to say Hypno, but honestly I'd say Hypno and Jinx are kind of equal in that regard. Like, it's definitely not the most powerful one, but I do like having the type diversity of, oh, I get Stab from Psychic and Ice. If you're wondering what Stab refers to, it basically means when a Pokemon uses the type of move that it shares a type with, it gets a 1.5 times power boost. Which is always nice. Huh? I ran out of Pokemon? Oh, I know, I'll just catch, like, 5 more of them randomly and then challenge you in, like, 5 minutes. I would not be surprised if Pokemon made that a, like, thing in later games. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd be very annoyed by it. Let's heal a bit. Also, the fun thing about not having to deal with as many Weedles or Kakunas, or any at all now that I think about it, you don't have to worry about getting poisoned randomly, which is nice. Or at the very least, you definitely can't get hit by that like in the wild. I don't recall if any of the trainers coming up have Weedles in their team or not. I guess we'll find out soon enough. I feel like there are definitely a few times when you fight them in Pokemon battles... I mean, in trainer battles later down the road, but I can't remember any in Viridian Forest off the top of my head. Then again, who does memorize every single trainer in these games? Well, besides people who write for Bulbapedia, I guess. I'm gonna be the best, you just can't beat me. Well, buddy, in four generations later, you might have had a chance with your type of choice. Not here. Although that is quite a high-level Caterpie. Which begs the question why you didn't evolve it. I guess while we're dealing with this trainer battle, I'll give my thoughts on the Weedle line, since if you were playing another Gen 1 game you could encounter them here, but in Yellow you just can't. Because very questionable game design. Weedle line is kind of just meant to be the inverse of the Butterfly. Butterfry. It'll be the new regional form of Butterfree, the Butterfry. For some reason, I'm imagining Fry from Futurama just put on top of Butterfree. No, sorry. The Beedrill line is meant to be a counterpart to the Butterfrees in that they focus more on physical attack than anything. And oddly enough, in future games, they get more special defense. Like, not enough to be a wall, but enough so that, oh, one water gun doesn't hurt them too badly. I say water gun instead of ember, because trust me, if you hit it for its weakness, it's still gonna get hurt. It's kind of the same boat as Butterfree, where it doesn't really have too high stats because of the way it evolves much earlier than other Pokemon. And it's even worse in Gen 1, because A, it's poison type, which is a bad thing. And B, special is much better to have than high physical stats. Well, I'll put it this way. Having a high attack without defense to back it up is a bad thing. Like, mediocre speed and high attack doesn't really mean much if both your defense and your special are god-awful. Which is why something like Rhydon is so good in Gen 1, despite it not having very high special at all, because both its defense and its attack are good enough to the point where, oh, it's basically the best way to beat a Chansey or a Snorlax, or at the very least, it's one of the better options. And then you remember that one of them learns Blizzard, and then your Rhydon just dies. But the fun thing with Beedrill is that it has the same thing with Butterfree in later games, where basically Game Freak took pity on it and decided to give it some buffs. The most famous, in my opinion, being the Mega Evolution introduced in Gen 6, which I am personally a really big fan of, and I wish they would have done more with that mechanic for lower tier Pokemon or Pokemon with lower stats overall, because I really like the idea of, hey, here's a Pokemon that couldn't do anything, here's a niche now. Here's 180 attack and like 150 speed, but basically lose everything else. Hey, wait up, what's the hurry? I'm trying to explain Pokemon here, man, don't interrupt me. Technically speaking, Butterfree kind of got similar treatment in Gen 8, where it, not really a Mega form, but it did have an alternate Dynamax form. And if you want to know how Dynamax works, ask somebody else, because I honestly don't understand it. All I know is that some of them get alternative forms, kind of like Mega Evolution, but they don't act the same in terms of stats. I don't know, Pokemon's weird. In any case, I guess going back to my previous thought, that is something that I legitimately wish, like, Game Freak would do more often. And to be fair, what they did alongside Mega Evolutions makes sense to an extent. Like, oh, here's regional forms that change up the way a Pokemon plays. On paper, that's cool, but the problem that annoys me is that it basically means that... Well, I'll put it like this. You have a choice of, hey, do you want the regional variant, or do you want the standard form that shows up everywhere else? But what happens is that then you run to the situation of 9 times out of 10, the regional variant is going to be better, usually because it just has some random benefit. At least half the time it does, in my opinion. I think arguably the best example for me would probably be Muck versus Alolan Muck. Muck is personally one of my favorite Pokemon, and I'll use it whenever I can. Except this game, because I already have a Nidoking, so it kind of feels pointless to have 2 poison types. In any case, Muck, later on, when it gets much better stuff, I usually love using it. The thing is, though, if you have a choice between a Alolan Muck and a regular Muck, why would you not just pick a Alolan Muck? The reason for that is because a Alolan Muck has a dark subtype to it. And if you're wondering why that's important, it's because Poison has 2 big weaknesses, Ground and Psychic. Which is also why Poison is not a very good type in Gen 1. But, when you have Dark, you're immune to Poison. Not Poison. You're immune to Psychic type attacks. Which I think is one of the best subtypes ever, because you only have 1 weakness, and it's not even a 4 times weakness. It's a standard weakness. So, in my opinion, that's one of the best subtypes you could possibly get. And on top of that, you get stabbed for 2 different types. So, that's great. Like, Dark and Poison complement each other really well, so I have to ask the question, why would I ever use Alolan... why would I ever use Standard Muck if Alolan Muck is available? For other regional variants, and I imagine more so in Gen 8 and I guess whatever the heck the new forms are called in Gen 9, I forget what they are. It's something about... All I know about them is that basically, oh, here's a prehistoric version, here's a future version. How on earth you roboticize a Tyranitar is beyond me. I just realized I didn't actually get double kick on Nidoran. I'll be back. I'm not walking into that fight without double kick. I'll continue that thought when I get double kick. I'll be back. Hallelujah, please tell me this is where we learn double kick. Hallelujah, we can go beat the crap out of Brock now. Okay, now back to my previous thoughts. I haven't gone around to seeing the new regional variants or whatever the time-based variants are of Gen 9. I'm mostly familiar with the ones from Gen 7. But I forgot that dumbass is like, you're light years from face him. I don't think I need a tape measure to measure that crap. Anyways, I guess whenever I think of regional variants, the main ones that always stick out to me are, again, the ones from Gen 7, because that's what I'm most familiar with. But from what I've seen, they do seem a bit more balanced in terms of like, you know, how useful it is versus the previous variant. It always comes down to, like, do both have a niche of some sort? And to be fair, for some of them in Gen 7, I think they do. Like, arguably my favorite set of regional variants is the Vulpix and Sandshrew lines that you get at roughly 70% mark of the game. Their regional variants make sense to me. Gameplay-wise, lore-wise, I don't exactly get how a regional form of a Pokemon turns into an ice type when you're in a tropical region. Yeah, I'm not understanding that one. But I do like... Oh, for the little piss Nidoran. But I do like the idea of, hey, these work really well on hail-based teams, or they work really well in conjunction with other ice types. Or, you know, just in general, they have different offensive capabilities. Do they replace the older ones? In my opinion, I'd say no. Regular Sandshrew arguably has a much better time defensively, but an Alolan Sandshrew would work great on a Hail team. It has a niche. And Vulpix, kind of same thing. Defensively speaking, an Ice and Fairy type isn't exactly that good. Especially if you throw Steel at it, it's just going to be obliterated. But, again, on a Hail team, or if you just really like Ice and Fairy offensively speaking, I think it's a good choice. And dear gosh, Nidoran is just a Sandshrew. If you're wondering why I'm not spamming Double Kick, it's because Sandshrew isn't technically a Rock type. Despite this being the Rock type gym. Good work, idiot. Darn. Light years isn't time, it measures distance. Ah, so you're a dumbass on two fronts. Wonderful. I guess before I pursue with my thoughts on the whole regional thing, that right there is why you need one of the three Pokemon I mentioned earlier. Either a Nidoking... Not Nidoking, we don't get a Moonstone yet. A Nidoran, a Mankey, or a Butterfree. Because those are pretty much your only reasonable ways of taking out Rock and Ground types right now. Mostly Rock types, because they're a lot harder. No pun intended. I'm Brock, I'm Pewter's gym leader. I believe in rock-hard defense and determination. Yeah, I bet that gets you all the ladies, doesn't it? That's why my Pokemon are all the Rock type. Do you still want to challenge me? Fine then. Show me your best. Alright, first gym battle. Step 1, throw out something with a fighting type attack, or if you decide to use a Butterfree, send that crap out, even though type matchup-wise that would be a terrible idea normally. Ah, Geodude, the thing that is normally piss easy to beat, except in this instance where your starter is an electric type. Why did I hit Horn Attack? Ugh. I called that other person a dumbass, now look at what I'm doing. Good going, me. Okay, now let's actually do this right. But yeah, I guess while we're having this battle, just... that's how I always think regional variants should be handled. Should always be... One should not be substantially better than the other, or if there is a difference in overall usefulness, one should at least have a niche or some kind of purpose overall, even if it's not as popular. Which is why I think the Ice-type ones are a good idea. But then with other, like, regional variants and Alola, it just feels really one-sided, and half the time, it feels like really one-sided towards the original version. Well, I say half time, it's mainly just one example. The main one that always gets me is the idea of the Rattata Alolan variant. Because not a whole lot changes, the only real difference is that now it's a dark type, technically gets access to more dark moves, and it has Gluttony. Onyx, stop screaming. I mean, stop singing, it's not working. Now, Gluttony, I don't really find it that useful of an ability, mainly because I don't really see berries used all that often, except in, like, really difficult and specific scenarios. And normally those would want to be used at, say, like, to prevent a status infection, which Gluttony doesn't help with. Gluttony is only really going to help if you want to heal faster, or heal earlier on in a fight. Which, if anything, that doesn't really matter if you're just having a berry on to prevent a status infection. Oh no, I forgot it had this crap. Okay, so, binding moves in Gen 1, you can't do crap during them. Okay, let's see if we can end it here. Nidoran, you are cutting this a lot closer than I would like. And we have defeated the first gym leader while I'm trying to rant about Alolan variants. I know I should probably be discussing more about the, like, story of this, but I've done it so many times, and I imagine a good portion of you probably have as well. I took you for granted. As proof of your victory, here's the Boulder Badge. That's an official Pokemon League badge. Its bearer's Pokemon become more powerful. Yes, that is actually a thing where, depending on how many badges or what badges you have, it does help raise... I believe in most games it's usually the base... Well, not really the base stats, but, like, I believe it helps either with, increasing the amount of, evolutionary values you can get for certain stats, or else it just straight up gives you a stat boost overall. I'll check on that later just to verify. Oh, and we can also use Flash whenever we want. Basically useless. Wait, take this with you. Oh boy, is it Earthquake? Oh, it's Bide. Okay then, let me just, yep. No, I'll put it in storage. To be fair, I don't really see any Pokemon that can make good use of this. Like, theoretically, a Chansey might be able to if it can last long enough, but I don't know about that. Anyways, I guess to end off the whole point on Alolan variants, compared to the idea of, like, variant forms in other Pokemon games, or at the very least what I hope they turn into as time goes on, or whatnot. I guess what I'm basically saying is, in terms of Pokemon getting more use as more variants come out and whatnot, I like the concept, I just wish that some of them would keep a niche for both sides of them, like, say, the standard form and the new variant form. Some of them get it right, and others, in my opinion, kind of mess up. Again, in the case of, like, say, Alolan Muck, or even Alolan Dugtrio. I forgot to throw the TM in the PC. Crap. Guess might as well show this off while I'm here. So here's the PC. Since it is a public one, we probably shouldn't look at all the prawn in the world on it, but, you know, if you'd like. No, this is where we store Pokemon. I'm just going to go ahead and store these ones in here because I don't really have a use for them. I will keep Caterpie in the party just so I can level it up off screen to get to a Butterfree. Again, mainly just fill up the Pokedex, and at that point I'll just not get rid of it, I'll put in the PC. As I was saying, the Doug Trio Alolan form is just funny to me because it just becomes Ground Steel, which, I don't know, that just seems like an upgrade overall. Like, Steel isn't the best offensively, but it still hits a couple things that Ground just can't, like it's good against Ice and Fairy especially. So you already give a physical attacker more offensive options, and you buff up its defenses while only giving it an... I'm trying to remember, is Ground resistant to itself or not? I'll have to check. But you give it maybe 2 weaknesses, maybe 3 at max, and you give it like 7 resistances, I think. That just seems really one-sided to me. And then the opposite happens, where it's like, oh, we have Alolan Raticate. What's its benefit? It's a dark and normal type. You tell me what's wrong with that sentence. Anyways, regardless, enough of me ranting about regional variants and whatnot when I technically haven't even encountered all that many besides Alolan. Maybe I'll have different thoughts on it as I get through more Pokemon games on my own time. Anyways, enough ranting around whatnot. We've had the optional rival fight, we got through Viridian Forest, we're building up the Pokedex a little bit just to get to roughly 20 or so. And we beat the first gym, so with that, I believe that'll be the end of the part. Next time we'll be on our way to the first, I want to say a legitimate dungeon, but mainly depends on whether or not you count Viridian Forest as one. I really don't. But we go to Mount Moon, the first major dungeon of the game, get through it, and be on our merry way in the next part. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.